Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, Executive Editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with our preview of the Classics Today Insider special video of Michel Plasson's 10 best recordings. Who was Michel Plasson? I fear that his name may already be kind of fading from memory, which would be a terrible, terrible thing, because he was a very interesting and important character in the latter half of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st for his extraordinary support of unusual French music, and not only that, his ability to get it recorded by a major label, no less, by EMI, which is now Warner. He spent his career with the Orchestral National du Capitole de Toulouse, not one of the greatest orchestras in the world, a French provincial orchestra, with all that that implies, but he often got them to play quite well. And more to the point, nowadays, unusual repertoire is a thing. It's a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal among, collectors like ourselves and classical music aficionados. But in the 1970s and 80s, when he was doing this, there weren't so many independent labels who were doing the same thing. There weren't so many really good second-tier orchestras with the resources to do all of this repertoire. And there he was, making these recordings. Of course, however he got it financed and supported in France via, the government or subsidy or whatever he did, he got it done. And it wasn't promoted very strongly by Warner or EMI at all internationally, but the stuff was available. It was out there. And since I'm here unpacking things, one of the things I was unpacking were these. Pardon me. The Michel Plasson EMI boxes, which I think are long gone and out of print, but it doesn't make any difference. I mean, I want to go through them and tell you what he achieved and let you know just what's in them, because it really was an amazing stuff for 3 decades or so, from the late 70s or 70s to the early 2000s. Really an astonishingly varied and interesting legacy that plugged a lot of gaps in the repertoire and introduced a lot of us to some very new and unusual music. Now, the operas were the big deal. Those always got attention because he got great singers to do them. And, if you have the best singers, I could be conducting it. Nobody would care. But the truth of the matter is, he did some amazing stuff here. And if you want to know what his 10 best recordings are, and then please do consider subscribing to ClassicsToday.com via the link below. Or if you already are, just hop on over there and have a look at that video. But in the meantime, let's go through these boxes, shall we? I'm just going through the list because it really is important and remarkable in and of itself. First of all, we have, 37 CDs of not operas. But there is some vocal music in there. And I have here the little bookie, and we're just going to talk about it because it's marvelous. Okay, Berlioz. It's the Symphonie Fantastique, Roman Carnival Overture, Corsair Overture, Harold in Italy, Benvenuto Cellini, Waverly. And those are the first 2 discs. Now, Plasson didn't get much opportunity to do the normal stuff that everybody did, the international French repertoire. And when he did, sometimes the result was very good and sometimes it was less good. His Berlioz is really pretty good. The Harold in Italy is very, very good. And, he did 2 discs, even more interesting, of Berlioz's short vocal and choral works, orchestral songs and weird little choruses and cantata things, and really some marvelous stuff. You get Sarah La Baigneuse, and you have Tristia, and the Song of the Railroads, which not everybody does, and the Hymn for the Consecration of a New Tabernacle, all kinds of interesting things like that. 2 discs worth of it. And, it's in the Warner Big Berlioz Complete Edition box. Because this stuff is going to be pretty unique. A lot of it will be anyway for the foreseeable future. So, he understood what his niche was. And that was very smart. It was very, very smart of him. And he stuck to it for most of his career. Okay, we have the 2 Gounod symphonies. This is from the 1970s, 1979. And the Gounod Oratorio, Mors et Vita, Death and Life. Now, the only thing that's probably less in fashion than Victorian oratorios are French Victorian era oratorios. No, that's not true. German Victorian era oratorios are even less in fashion than the other two. But Gounod was a really fine composer. To have all this stuff around is great. Then we've got the Franck D minor and the symphonic variations with Jean-Philippe Collard. I mean, perfectly fine performances that are just, competing with perfectly fabulous other performances that have been done for a million years in the basic repertoire. But, he got to do some of the usual stuff. You had to give him a chance after all the other things he did. And Saint-Saëns, Cyprès et Laurier, Cypress and Laurels, for organ and orchestra, 2 chunky movements, about 16 minutes of music, rather fascinating. The César Franck, Redemption, the complete symphonic poem, that is with voices and choirs and recitation and all kinds of stuff going on. Usually you just get the symphonic meditation thing, the beginning of part 2, that's what that is. But this is the whole deal. And that's what makes it so interesting. Lalo, Symphonie Espagnole. Oh, I hate that piece. Okay, and there's Violin Concerto with Augustin Dumay. Very good performances. Saint-Saëns Organ Symphony. Very good organ symphony. By the time he came to doing this, which was, when was this? 95. First of all, the Toulouse Orchestra had gotten a lot better. And second of all, he was, getting the opportunity to do some basic rep. But the important thing on this disc is that you get La Foi, which is 3 symphonic tableaux, a major, major late work by Saint-Saëns. It's his opus 130, and it's a big piece. It's like 30 some odd minutes long, 32, 33 minutes. It's as long as the symphony. I mean, a major, major orchestral work that nobody knows. La Foi, F-O-I, Foi, the crowd, Then we've got Bizet, the complete L'Arlésienne incidental music. I think he was the first person to do that, to do like all of it, not just the usual stuff. And Saint-Saëns' Carnival of the Animals. Well, that's just delightful, and it's charming and fun. And then we've got Bizet, the usual stuff, Carmen Suite number 1, L'Arlésienne Suite, the Petite Suite, and then some interesting things. Les Quatre Coins, number 5 of the Petite Suite, not saved by the author and unpublished. And the Overture in A and the Funeral March in B minor. I mean, some interesting stuff. And the Saint-Saëns Symphony in C, coupled with Roma and Patrie, his Overture Dramatique. Pardon me, that was my email thing going off. I mean, really, really rather nifty. You just get to see all this stuff. And again, these are still rarities. I mean, serious, serious rarities. Now we have Chabrier, lots of Chabrier with some unusual Chabrier as well. 2 discs of that. And then all of the Fauré incidental music and other things. Now, these are older recordings from 1980, basically 79 and 80. And they are standard. I mean, those are the standard reference editions for the complete Fauré incidental music and stuff like that. So when they did do the Fauré Requiem with Barbara Hendricks and Joseph Van Damme, not too shabby, right? And Chausson, his Chausson is beautiful. Soir de Fête et Viviane, those 2 symphonic poems, which are still extremely rare. The Symphony in B-flat major, he did quite well. The Dandy Second Symphony, that was a real novelty when that came out. Nobody knew that work. Then he did a Debussy disc. We're already up to CD 21 here. See, we're going to move rather quickly. This Debussy was really mediocre. Frankly, not competitive at all. We had the Nocturnes, the Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun, Printemps, La Mer. Totally unnecessary. But he got a chance to do it. Guy Roparts, Joseph Guy Roparts, Symphony number 3. This is a big, long, dandy-like sucker. I mean, I think it's kind of boring, but it's nice to have. I mean, it's nice to have some Roparts. Now, since then, more Roparts has been done, and most of it has turned out to be just as dull as the Third Symphony. So, well, not all of these people are magical new discoveries, are they? And then we have the 4 Magnard symphonies. He was the first guy to do those. The 4th Symphony was a major, it was a major release. It really began the Magnard revival. Before that, the only thing that was available was the 3rd Symphony with Ansermet, basically. And so, on a major label. And so that fourth really sold the guy. Since then, again, it's sort of taken off, and there's a bunch of Maynard cycles. I mean, Hyperion has one, Bis has one, Naxos has one. They're proliferating. But this was the first, and it's held up quite well. It's very, very good. Satie, a whole bunch of, the usual Satie stuff, plus lots of orchestrations by other people. And then he did some Ravel. The Ravel is better than his Debussy, including, let's see, La Valse, Bolero, the Pavane, the Valse Noble, Mother Goose Suite. And then, this was fun, CD 29, Ravel Cantatas for the Prix de Rome. There are 3 of them. And this was also a premiere sort of novelty. They are Alyssa, Alcyone, and Mirha. All of them, the usual, a couple arias and a thing. But it's fascinating to hear where Ravel came from. And these were premiere recordings for the most part, I think. And wonderful. They were recorded in 2000. So, it's kind of recent stuff that no one had heard of by someone as popular as Ravel. And then he did the Ravel Piano Concerti and the Debussy Fantasy with François-René Duchable. Nice performances, nothing wrong with them. The complete Honegger symphonies, the second symphony without the optional trumpet at the very end, by the way, which kind of annoyed me, along with Pacific 231. They're good performances. They're not as exciting as like the Baudo Czech Phil ones on Superphone, but you get a sense of what the music is. And at the time, again, this was in 1977 for some of this stuff, and 78. Nobody knew this music. Nobody knew it at all, except for the Liturgique, possibly, in the second when Charles Munch did it. These were wonderful, wonderful premiere stereo, modern recordings, shall we call them. I mean, and what can I say? I mean, they're fun. Henri Sauguet, Les Foraines Ballet, and Tableau de Paris. Not many people knew about Sauguet. And let's see, when was this? 1977, when he made these recordings. Very, very adventurous. And then all the Duruflé stuff, the usual, the Requiem and the Mass and the 4 motets and that stuff. Then Dutilleux, a very good Dutilleux disc. You have Metaball, The Shadows of Time, and the Second Symphony. This was a late recording. This was, 1998 and 2001. And it's quite good. Very, very good. And then 36, CD 36, Ducat, Saucer's Apprentice, Franck Chasseur-Maudit, Silvio Lazzari, Effet de Nuit. How many people have heard that? Henri Duparc, Lenore, Symphonic Poem, and Aux Etoiles, his entr'acte for an unpublished drama, or incomplete drama, and Saint-Saëns' Danse Macabre. So there you go. I mean, some nifty stuff. And then finally, CD 37 is music from films by Marcel Carnet, the director, and it's music by Maurice Jobert and Joseph Cosma. Good old Joseph Cosma. Really cool. Really, really cool. So that's it. 37 CDs of mostly very interesting and neglected French orchestral and choral music and some vocal things. Then we have the operas. Oh, yes. The operas are 38 CDs, but of course this will go much more quickly because they're all multi-disc sets. So you're ready for the operas? Some really cool stuff here. With some great singers, I might add. Carmen. Well, this may be the latest one of them all. When was this recorded? Because it's with Gheorghiu and Alania when they were like the power couple, 2002. So there you go. Add the Pearl Fishers with Barbara Hendricks, John Aller, and Gino Quilico. That was classic, right? The Pearl Fishers was wonderful. I have to tell you a story about that. When I was working in a record store, a woman came in and she said, I want the record. It's called, I heard it on the radio. She said, the record is called Angel, and it's by Pearl Fisher. Well, obviously she'd gotten it a little confused, hadn't she? Angel, of course, was the U.S. branch of EMI, and Pearl Fisher was the opera on Angel. And I said to her, no, I'm sorry, dear. It is the opera, the Pearl Fishers, and the label is Angel. And she of course, said, no, it was called Angel, and the singer was Pearl Fisher. And it's like, oh, yeah. Anyway, Lacme with Nathalie Dessay. Ooh, yes. Faust with Cheryl Studer, Richard Leach, Joseph Van Dam, and Thomas Hampson. That was really important because most of the Faust recordings out there were really not very good. This was pretty good. Gounod's Mireille, lovely, lovely work. Romeo and Juliet, twice. The first with Alfredo Kraus, Catherine Malfitano, Jose Van Dam, Gino Quilico, Anne Murray, bloppity bloppity blop, all those people. And then with Alanya and Georgiou and Van Dam and Simon Keenly Side and all those people, bloppity bloppity blop. Yes, that's really nifty. And let's see, what else have we got? Oh, Magnard's Guerre Coeur. Very serious. With Hildegard Behrens, Josie Van Dam, Nadine Denise, Gary Lakes. Some like major singers. Are you getting it here? That's why some of these operas have survived. In the catalog, Massenet's Don Quixote with Teresa Berganza, Josie Van Dam, and Ellen Fondari. Yeah, wonderful. Massenet's Herodiade with Cheryl Studer and Nadine Denise and Ben Hepner and Thomas Hampson and Josie Van Dam. Again, wow, huh? Nifty, nifty. And Massenet's Manon with Ileana Kotrubash and Alfredo Kraus, Gino Quilico, Jose Van Dam. You getting the cast here? The usual people. Oh, and then a whole bunch of Offenbach stuff. Some really great Offenbach stuff. La Belle Hélène with Jesse Norman. I'll just do the famous ones here. Orpheus in the Underworld. Yay! Still the best one out there. With Mehdi Mesplay, Jane Rose, Jane Barbier, Michel Sénéchal. I mean, some really good French operetta people. Wonderful. Let's see. La Péricole, Teresa Berganza, José Carreras, Gabriel Baquier. And La Vie Parisienne with Mehdi Mesplay and Régine Crespin. Yay! Whoa, baby, huh? Hot stuff. So that's it, right? Those are the operas. And so, as you can see, there is some really remarkable stuff in these two hefty box things. Here they are. And I know they're not available, and I know that that's frustrating to you all, and I apologize for that, because it's not really my responsibility to keep things available. I wish they should stay available forever, but these ought to be. They really ought to be. They're an impressive and important legacy. And I wanted to bring it to your attention. And if you're curious for my picks of the top 10, hie on over to classicstoday.com, where you can watch that video as well. Thank you so much for joining me, friends. Keep on listening. Take care.